San Francisco!
He has nearly 40 years of broadcasting in Northern California. The voice of the San Francisco 49ers, Greg Papa. Sponsored by Sunpoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard of the public adjusting industry.
Happy New Year, Greg. How are you?
Good morning, Jason. How you guys doing up there?
We're doing all right. I know you were hoping for this final game to have a lot more meaning to it, but look, it's still Niners, Cardinals. Still, I always get a kick out of Budda Baker and George Kittle. There's always still something to check out in the finale.
Without a doubt, it's one of the great matchups in pro football, and we'll see how much George plays in the game. He's already got his 1,000 yards, so Juwan Jennings is going to be the guy. I think that's going to be featured in this game, getting 77 yards to go to 1,000. I don't even think he had 1,000 previously in his entire career. So to do it in 1 year and block the way he's blocked it and everything. So there's always meaning in games. I mean, we've, covering the various sports. I was in a lot of Warriors seasons that didn't go well, or Oakland A's seasons, or with the Raiders. We made the playoffs 4 times in 21 years there. So, and I know in Sacramento with the Kings, and I don't know what happened with Mike Brown up there. That's amazing. They were such a good coach go. But anyway, there's always things to play for and evaluate, and you find out really who loves football. And George, the way he finished the year, the way Juwan blocked on Monday night against the Lions, the way Nick played, Fred Warner playing with a fractured ankle since September. But to me, I want to get a look at Joshua Dobbs in the game with Kyle's offense, and we've seen him in the OTAs and mini camps. I think he got better. It's a complicated system to learn. So it took him a while to put a grasp on it, but he's got tremendous ability to throw the ball as well as anybody, and he's got mobility. Is he someone you want to bring back as a backup? One of the major regrets for me in the offseason was losing Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
But there was no way to keep Sam, and look at him now. I mean, he's sitting on a huge payday and 14-2, but he played so well that last game against the Rams last year, and especially in the first half, he was just amazing. You just knew, damn, he's playing so well, he may not be able to bring him back. Josh is a little bit of a different guy. I want to see what his skill is and how he translates. And he's a former Arizona Cardinal, and he played well for them last year. In fact, he came in last year as a Cardinal on October the 1st and played a tremendous game. Threw a couple of touchdown passes, ran for 42 yards, scrambled away from a lot of sacks in the game. So, to me, it's evaluating everybody, always, every single day, every minute. But I want to get a good look, and I know John and Kyle do, and just see what they got in Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, and even the last couple of weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago when you guys were in Miami, it wasn't the jump off the stat page kind of game for Ricky Pearsall, but he had 4 or 5 catches that game. But then last week, my goodness, he looked terrific, and this, helps validate draft choices and future things. How'd you think he looked, and what's his future look like?
Well, go back to what you're talking about. So the Tampa game is where he had the big game and the touchdown. The Miami game, he likes Florida, obviously. He's a Florida former Gator. He had 4 catches in the first half in that game, and he had not done much the previous 2 games as far as getting production. To me, he's the same guy. It's just where is the ball go? But then he misaligned. He had those illegal formations. I think it was 2 out of 3 snaps. And he's had a hard off season. I mean, my God. Obviously the shoulder injury kept popping out, and the hamstring injury when he went away from the team. And he didn't see him much in the OTAs and mini camps and training camps, but I saw enough. At first Ricky mini camp, like, wow, what is this guy, a tap dancer? I mean, his feet are incredible. So you just knew. But, when you're not aligning properly, it's hard. He's still in the meeting rooms, but he was away after he got shot on Labor Day Saturday. So you can't make those alignment mistakes. You got to line up with it's a very sophisticated offense. And the thing about Kyle, he positions everywhere. You're all over the formation. Would you use Jack and Kittle or Debo lines up, and they line up all over the place. And Ricky's been learning X, Z, and F wide receiver. It's hard, for a rookie to learn all 3 and be able to know the responsibility on each play. In this past game, it was mainly the Z, which is the split end, the move guy, and the F, which is the slot, when they have 3 wide receivers. But honestly, I see what he did in the game every day in practice. I've seen it consistently. He's just different. Guys on this team are special talents, obviously, and throughout the league. But this guy runs routes, just is in and out, ability to separate. He's just smart. And then his ability to catch the ball is incredible. The one thing is, can he block enough, at his size, block, no rock in this offense. But it's good for the fans to see it because they're playing fantasy football and they want the stats. But honestly, he does that just about every single day in practice. He catches 10 balls a day for 150 yards every day. But it's, you got to translate practice to the game. I'm not saying it's the same, but he does have special ability. So I'm not surprised at all about his physical ability. He's just got to make sure, and it's hard. Everything that he's gone through this year, to be in the playbook and have the acumen, to know exactly what he's supposed to do on every play. Because, as talented as you are, if you line up in the wrong spot and you're taking away, that one play was a first and goal on the 2-yard line to Debo that got called back. You're not going to play if you make those kind of mistakes. So it was so great to see him in the very next game come out on Monday Night Football and have Kyle trust him. All the motion stuff he did. There were 2 plays, Jace, where he was supposed to throw the ball, where they ran reverses to him. One was to Brock leaking out, and then, their linebacker buzzed out and took it away. Another one was to Garendo on a rail route, an out and up wheel route. And he didn't like that, so he threw it away. So he was very involved in the game plan to the point where they were reversing the ball to him and looking for him to throw the ball.
Greg, how concerned are you or I guess the decision makers with the 49ers about Moody right now?
Well, if this game Sunday was a big game, or if we were going into the playoffs, you'd have to take him off the roster. He's got the yips right now. There's no doubt. Again, kind of like what I was saying with Ricky, Jake Moody is incredibly skilled. I think I've seen him miss 1 or 2 kicks in practice this year, but honestly, that's it. He makes every single one, and he's got special ability. Al Davis used a first-round pick on Sebastian Janikowski, and people are like, why would you do that? You had Joe Nedney here. He won a game the year before in Denver because the ball just came off Janikowski's foot differently. I mean, it was just, he was the Polish cannon, and he had off-the-field issues that derailed his greatness early in his career, but he was the most powerful kicker of his generation. Jake is he's just incredibly skilled. But for whatever reason, he's got the yips. And he had it last year because he got hurt. He hurt his leg, and then he missed a preseason game against New Orleans or Denver last year. He missed a kick, and it got into his head a little bit. He missed one in the wind in Cleveland, but he had a good year. He made his first 60 extra points last year. He was 21 of 25. He made 2 50-yard field goals in the Super Bowl. He made big kicks to win playoff games against Green Bay and Detroit, and he had an extra point block because it was too low. But these guys miss kicks. But all that being said, since his high ankle injury this year, and he got off to a great start. He was 13 of 14 to start the year, made the 6 field goals against the Jets. The one miss was a 55-yarder. Ever since he's been back, he's not making them. He's made 10. He's missed 8. That is not sufficient. So if this was a game where you had to win this Sunday or you were going into playoff football, you'd have to remove him from the roster. You can't count on him. Now, all that being said, I would not cut him off the team, and I don't think they will. But you've got to bring other kickers in to compete with him. He's got to get healthy. He's got to get his mind right. I think one of the reasons they drafted him is he was so mentally tough. When he kicked for Harbaugh in Michigan, his nickname was Money Moody. He made a lot of big kicks. He kicked in poor weather, and he was unflappable. When they worked him out, before they drafted him, they had a set up where the long snapper was like a third-string tight end. The laces were never out, so they made it as hard as possible, and Jake never blinked. So he doesn't blink. I look at him now, he's got that look in his eye like nothing bothers him, but clearly it's bothering him. And the missed extra point, and, he's pulling it, he's having it leak out, he's missing all different directions. So he needs the offseason to clear his brain and come back and get completely healthy and let the world see his talent. But he'll have to earn this job in training camp next year. But right now, he's got the yips.
Speaking of the offseason, Greg, look, this team's going to end with 6 or 7 wins, and it's not for lack of talent. There's injuries. There's other reasons. So how do they make sure that it's a redirect and next year's kind of back to where they were? What are some of the offseason things they're going to attack?
Well, they got to rebuild. A lot of things. The defensive line. I think that Chris Kasarik on the D line breaks his linemen down into alphas and bravos. So the alphas are the starters, and the bravos mix in behind, and then the turbos are the pass rush group. And I mean, how many alphas do you really have on that D line right now, with the exception of Nick Bosa? So you got to be honest about who you are. I think you've got situational, rotational guys. The word is that they're going to let Javon Hargrave go in the offseason. He's making too much money. Can they re-sign him? Hopefully. And he's a good interior pass rusher, but, playing the run's been an issue with him. Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, the younger guys and guys you can move inside, Yatir Gross-Matos, Leonard Floyd. How many snaps do you want him to play? So I think you need a lot of guys. You need more bodies in there. You need to stop playing some of these guys like Malik Collins so many snaps. He really is a base run player, and then should probably come off the field. He's a good interior pass rusher, but just too many snaps. And the way to manage Leonard Floyd is to limit his snaps. Buffalo had Rousseau and Epinesa and Von Miller. When he was there last year, he played like 50%. You're just playing him too much. So you've got to get more bodies there. So you need to buy guys, maybe one or two free agents, and then you need to draft guys, maybe one or two draftable defensive linemen. So you got to rebuild that defense. Then obviously you got to get Dre Greenlaw re-signed, put him behind that line with Fred. I think D. Winters is fine. Travarius Ward will probably move on in the offseason, go back near Dallas, and they'll move on financially from him. So who's that other corner to be? Yadam, I thought would play better, frankly, than he's played. So you may have to upgrade there. And then the offensive line. Trent's injury is concerning.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they're playing at left tackle. What the heck? They got a guy named Charlie Heck, who I didn't even know is playing at left tackle, and Austin Pleasant, and you bring in Hennessy. I've never seen they're going through their fourth and fifth string tackles. Now, hopefully Trent comes back, but he's at the stage of his career, and this ankle injury is not healing. Then Aaron Banks will probably leave in free agency, and McKivitz has had a good year. Do you want to upgrade at center? So you're always looking to upgrade positions. And I think even with quarterback, you need a legitimate backup quarterback. If Josh Dobbs moves on and Allen move on, and would you like, Bill Walsh used to say you need to draft one every single year. They like Tanner Mordecai. They kept this guy as a fourth stringer all year. He's got ability. So maybe he could be your third next year and go out and get somebody else if you can't bring Dobbs back or choose to go another direction. So there's always, other positions. But I think in the interior, this team is broken down because defensively they cannot stop the run. They are getting trampled in the run game. And if you can't stop the run, you can't play defense in this league. And then conversely, obviously losing McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell and J.P. Mason, and Garendo's got some room to grow, but they're not getting a push in the offensive line the way they used to. This team won, 4 of the last 5 years in the NFC title game and 2 Super Bowls because they just bludgeoned teams. They beat them up in the offensive and defensive line. So to me, you got to rebuild the foundation of this house here. You got to get stronger on each side of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and hopefully they could do that this offseason. We'll see what plays out in the final game of the regular season. Greg, we appreciate talking to you this week. We'll check in next week, got to do a season recap, and have a great call on Sunday.
Thank you, my friend. Good to talk to you, Jason.
All right, you too. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Happy New Year to Greg Papa.